Hello, everyone. This is the last talk before the break. So, please, everybody, stand up. Real quick. Everyone, come on, come on. Move your arms, shake your legs. I don't want anyone sleeping on my talk. Okay, go back, sit down. Thank you. All right, we'll talk about design, specifically about design for new technologies, which is what I do today. And when I say design, I'll definitely talk a little bit about product design, UX and UI, which is what I do, but it goes in my head beyond a specific role. When we say design, like actual digital interfaces, there's many layers to it, pixels, code, business decisions involved. There's many things. And the considerations I'm going to show here, they probably relate to anything or to anyone working on digital products. But who the hell is this guy talking to you? I'm Jon, short for Jonatas. I'm Brazilian. I live in London for about 6 years. Across my presentation, you'll see a few QR codes. Feel free to scan them or take pictures. I work in design for about 15 years now. I worked for many companies. You'll see a few automotive brands there, which is kind of a passion of mine. I had the opportunity to work for a few of them. And today I work for Meta Reality Labs, where we basically build new technologies on this thing we call the metaverse today. Contrary to popular belief, not all Brazilians are good at football. I'm horrible, and this dog is definitely better than me. However, I'm good at something that I know my fellow Georgians here are good at as well, which is drinking wine. So I love your wine, guys, and I won't even get started on the food. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more recommendations because I need to take a few home as gifts for people. Okay, as many of you here started like very young, instead of being playing football, I was a geeky, a nerd without glasses. And I always had this passion for computers, for computer graphics, it's special. And at a very young age as well, I started playing with graphic design, then 3D, motion design, and so on. Not professionally, just playing with that. Eventually, I became a professional on web design, and then there was Flash and so on. And then there was this new thing called UX and UI. And there was I designing mobile and desktop applications. And then suddenly I was like, okay, what else is out there? Is there anything else that can be fun? I was curious about what else was in the world. And I started experimenting with a few things. And lockdown definitely helped with free time. And then I started playing with motion design and trying to ask myself, how can I add another dimension to design and to interfaces, right? Motion design wasn't really the answer I was looking for, and then suddenly I bumped into AR. This is my very first AR experiment. It's very simple, and although simple, it sparked in my head this magical feeling of, this is really cool that I can now put digital things into the real world. I want to know more about that. Fast forward, I was working for Meta, Facebook Reality Labs back then in 2020 for this app called Horizon Workrooms, which is basically a VR collaboration platform that Meta built. And if you have a Meta Quest headset, I encourage you to try this because the sense of presence is really cool. And I'm actually really proud, especially from the technical standpoint and graphics, everything is really well done on this application. Today I work for Meta Spark. Basically Spark is Meta's AR ecosystem in a way. And there we enable from face effects to video call experiences, games, and now with the new Meta Quest devices, we are enabling the mixed reality, creation of mixed reality experiences as well. We'll talk a bit more about Meta Spark later on. All right. I will start with a few foundations. I know you guys know many of the things I'm going to mention here. A few of those things are also my personal opinion. But let's begin with the metaverse. And I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to mention that if you want to know more about Meta's vision on the metaverse, here's a link for you. There you can read what they think about it and so on. But on a more practical level, what I'm going to mention here is what sometimes we call the layers of this metaverse. And if we have a spectrum where in one end experiences are more immersive and on the other end they are more integrated into the world and maybe less immersive, and I'm going to mention why in a second as well. We have VR as the most immersive, and the most immersive kind of extreme. Well, you guys know what VR is, but for those who don't, basically you require a helmet, a headset, you put that thing in your head, and suddenly you are out of this world, right? You are in this whole new other reality. And believe it or not, research on VR dates back to the mid-50s. It's very old. It's been a long time that people want to escape the real world. And VR is like very mainstream already and very well established. And one of the places where VR is more well established is on entertainment. So you see like games that range from superheroes to arcades to fitness and everything. And it's like potentially the strongest use case for VR today, and where most people are invested in. But we also see connected experiences in which people can together experience things like watching a movie or watching concerts and things like this. And that's, for me, is one of the potentials of the metaverse, which is connecting people in a different level than we have today with like a mobile phone or things like this. Another application that is very strong in VR is, again, on productivity and collaboration. So workrooms, again, is not only about you sitting down in a room and having a meeting, but also about collaborating with tools like sketching on walls or sharing your screen and having this sense of presence around you as you do those things, although you are remote. Also, I remember like when I was a teenager, a long time ago, there was this fancy school in my hometown with headsets for education, where people could dive into the human body, and so that was fascinating. And that's another thing that today is well established in VR, education in a very immersive fashion. And we also, again, back to the sense of presence, we have experiences where you can, together with other people, train or learn together in general. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have AR. I will say that for just as a general definition, AR is when you overlay digital objects into the physical world somehow. I'm calling it less immersive because, for the sake of this definition, you experience AR with a device not attached to your body. So like a mobile phone, a tablet camera, and there's only so much you can do in terms of being immersed when you have like the screen that is this size, right? It's very limiting in that sense, but although it's still very powerful. And AR can basically, the technology already allows you to read the space, read shapes like the human body, and you can basically place things on top of this. So you see many applications around decoration and architecture, where you put furniture in your room, or can paint your wall or something like this without having to actually do it, or how is already very well established with face filters, for example. So you see many fashion companies that they do like makeup tryouts or clothing tryouts as well, which is already, again, very well established for AR. AR also enables you to enhance day-to-day activities. For instance, when you read, you can bring that paper that once was very static to life, and you can also have enhancements on your day-to-day activities like navigation, or if you want to translate something, you don't need to type anymore. You can basically point your camera to that text, and you see the translation real time in your platform, which, again, is very limiting, but still works. And one thing that I worked for in the past as well, which is kind of a very big area of interest of mine, is automotive. So we see many companies today already doing heads-up displays, which is when you project AR content on the windscreens and on car windows and stuff. And basically, it's about bringing interactivity and connectivity to your driving experience. And no different to VR, we have games. Who doesn't remember Pokemon Go, where you could place like that weird creature in your yard, and many others you can find on VR. On AR, sorry. And on the middle there, I will put mixed reality. And let's call it like AR on steroids somehow. Now you have something attached to your body. A headset, maybe in the future, AR glasses. But now you not only place objects on your worlds, but you can also interact with them, and they can interact with the space as well. So there's a way bigger potential for immersion, and it's definitely a more powerful application on top of the actual AR that we already have today. We see this currently on any VR headset with the pass-through mode. Basically, it's when you see your room, at the same time, you see digital content. That's used for many things. For instance, like you saw the woman playing with her desktop, people manipulating 3D objects in the space. And now, with the recently released MetaQuest Pro, this pass-through mode is in color. So it basically added way more realism than what we had today with a black and white kind of environment that you had. So here you see, like, this is my fellow friend Tatiana. She's manipulating those things and all in color. So that's how you see it basically, which is really, really cool. Here again is Tatiana having this learning experience of piano. So you actually see the piano and the AR content kind of overlays on top, which is really interesting. And we also see mixed reality being used on the industry setting. Already in production today, you see many industries doing that. And all right, let's get down to the actual design stuff with that foundation in mind. When we say design, many of the actual UI, UX considerations that you guys already know will still be in place here. But we have new challenges because of everything I just showed. And the first thing to consider is the complexity of those interactions, the environments we are designing for, and those interfaces in general. The saying on UI that we should keep things simple will still apply here. We need to keep things simple, but as we get more immersive, we start getting more liberties on how much we can kind of explore this new world and what we can create, right? So this is an example of this. We see the actual components that people are interacting with. They are quite familiar. Buttons are buttons, icons are icons. This needs to be intuitive so people can interact. But as we go into VR, the actual environment is very complex. We have now different textures and furniture, this whole new world, and the imagination is like the limit. There's no limit at all into what you can do with that. So you see, especially in games where you embody the character and you have almost no UI components at all. You're basically just acting like the character. However, whenever you need a button, people need to know, okay, this is a button and I can click it. This is one of Meta's research prototypes. It's called Neuro Interface Wristband. Basically, it tracks your fingers without you having to have them in front of the camera. So these new interaction paradigms, they open opportunities as well for us to create more immersive and more complex interactions. So we see it there, like each finger is being tracked, and then we go beyond like just a cursor of a mouse, because now we can have not only those fingers, but we can have like experiences that interact with the way you look at things, and which finger you're using, and the gestures you're doing, and so on. Here's just another example of that. And I just wanted to show as well that with AR experiences in special, environments tend to be way simpler or even non-existent. So here, like, we have experiences that are interacting with the world, but we don't want to really interfere with the world in this case. So basically, we have pure UI, and that's what I believe the experiences will be when we have like more established mixed reality and mixed reality and augmented reality devices that allow us to have productivity things on our day-to-day. Basically, we have elements we can put like into the wall of my house or my own desk, which they don't really interfere with my world, but they enhance my tasks, my opportunities to accomplish my tasks. That brings me to health and safety, because when we start interfering with the world, we need to be careful with how much we interfere, and if we give people tools to be safe when they are, especially in a reality that is different to theirs. An example of this is gardens. So basically, when you enter in VR, you forget about where you are, literally, even if for a few minutes. So gardens are made for people to set up their space. And basically, you make sure you're not clashing a wall or not knocking down that beautiful statue your mom has. And in workrooms in special, I was part of experiments where we needed to tell people to clear their desks because we didn't want them to eventually be in a meeting room and knocking down a coffee mug on top of their computer. And when it comes to more critical life tasks, hello, clicker. Yeah. We need to be even more mindful of this because when we are interfering with things that put people in danger, for instance, driving, we need to ask questions like, how much is too much? When does this start becoming a distraction? When am I covering data that I shouldn't be covering for people to make decisions? Or when am I giving people too much so they cannot process this in good time? So all of those questions are basically the main research questions that those companies are asking today. And also, there's one important thing as well. It's about inclusion because not everybody sees things like you do. Color blindness is a simple example of this. If we rely, for instance, in red color being danger, green not being danger, and someone doesn't see those colors like me, there's a big potential for danger there. And also, give people tools so that they can feel safe when they are experiencing harassment or abuse as we get more connected together. So it's about, again, giving people control, giving people safe spaces inside the applications, options to block or report those attitudes so those companies can take action. One kind of last point in this is about physical comfort and inclusivity. So physical comfort is for everybody. We are basically now adding more weight to people's head, casting more light in their eyes. So we need to be mindful on how much time people spend into these experiences, how much of all of this we are asking them to do. We are more mobile. Before we had a desktop, it's stationary to your desk, and then a laptop that you can move around, then a mobile phone. And now with those things, you have your hands free. You can look anywhere, and you can still experience the product. So how much is too much, again? How much we start creating discomfort instead of making things fun. And we also need to be mindful about the senses that we are programmed with as human beings. We are programmed to escape danger, right? Millions of years ago, we were in the jungle, animals started popping up. So peripheral vision, for example, is a place where we are programmed to sense there's something there. Sounds in the back of our heads. All of these are considerations we need to have, especially for more immersive experiences. Just a fun comment on this is that notifications are not popping up on the corner of your computers by chance. They are there by design because they take a peripheral vision and then suddenly like you say, oops, there's something here that needs my attention. So all of this is about not stressing the senses. We want to make it fun again, right? We don't want people like tired after using applications we create. And not less important, actually very important, is about motion sickness and flashing lights that can trigger neurological responses. And here, the options we have are always around, do we have technical things we can do to limit that? If yes, we need to give people control. And also, if not, how can we warn people before? So when they go in, they know, like, especially if they have known limitations to themselves, how this experience will be, and they can basically not go into it. And there's much more. There's things around privacy, how we make sure those experiences in our products, they bring meaningful transparency to people. How can we keep people safe and add integrity to everything? Making sure, again, they know how to take action if they need help, how to make sure they feel safe using our experiences, and how we make sure they are equal and accessible from the start. Another example of this is when face filters were created, they had to, as years went by, evolve in terms of algorithm to recognize non-white skin because they were created with bias in mind, and then people started to notice, okay, this is not really inclusive, and today we know this type of thing, and we need to make sure we ask the question, how can we make things more inclusive, those experiences more inclusive from day one? A very nice project about all of this that I'm saying here is ARIA. It's a project from Meta that aims to anticipate many of those challenges. I really encourage you to take a look at this because it's essentially one of my favorite research projects they have there. Essentially, you see how they use this device to learn about all of those challenges, and when people are designing for them, they kind of already know a bit better than what we know before this. So please check it out. And I know it's a lot of content. It's always very hard to digest all of this, but for people that are interested in technology or in the future of these interactions, this is also very exciting too. And many of these people, they work, like me, at MetaSpark. Again, before we started as a software for face filters, evolving to world experiences, and now with the new MetaQuest Pro, you can basically create those virtual objects and you can place them into the real world and you can potentially start poking into this future, and then we can start learning more. And then when the time comes, when these things are mainstream, you already, again, know much more than we know before they existed. So Meta is inviting people with specific skills, creators, 3D artists, developers, to join our virtual object beta program. Basically, there you will have access to exclusive tooling, documentation, coaching, where you can start poking again into this future of the digital creations. And again, I'm here if you guys want to chat more about this, if you want to chat about product design as well on a level of creating those tools and not only the experiences, feel free to connect with me or talk to me outside. I'm Brazilian, so I'm friendly. So yeah, just reach out. And I would just like to finish with a quote from Mr. Zuckerberg himself, my boss. Hello, boss. It's that the metaverse isn't a thing a company builds. It's the next chapter of the internet overall. So I invite you all to help us shape this next chapter that goes way beyond desktop and mobile. Thank you.